Part of In Touch Crime Beat with Commonwealth Attorney Ray Larson. I'm Officer Don, and Ray, you just finished a trial in Frankfort. You were assigned there as a special prosecutor. Real quickly again, why do you have to do the special prosecutor thing? How does that work?
Well, in this case, in Frankfort, there was a woman that was murdered. Her name was Tama Graves. She was basically executed by this yardbird named Alistair Couch. And she was a victim's advocate dealing with domestic violence victims in the Frankfort prosecutor's office, and they were disqualified because it would give the appearance to people, I think, that they were giving special treatment to this case, and so they disqualified, and we were asked if we would do it. We did.
And they disqualified themselves, I'm
sure.
They're the ones that brought it up and said, hey, you might want to bring somebody in here. We knew this girl, we were close to her, she worked in our office. Let's just make sure that
that's
it's
right.
done fairly.
Shauna Kinser and Kimberly Baird and I went over there. The preparation took forever. And you know, the Frankfort Police Department did a heck of a job investigating this thing. But the trial took over a week. And it was a really high-profile case.
Can you talk about the details of the case? Can you talk about?
Well, I'm gonna.
Okay, good.
Yeah. This guy came up from Memphis to play football at Kentucky State University and ultimately dropped out. But he went back to Tennessee for a short period of time, where he picked up a kidnapping, aggravated assault, fleeing, and evading police arrest charge. Down there, he served, I'm not sure how this worked, he served 11 months and 29 days.
Of what kind of sentence?
Six-year sentence.
Okay.
And he was placed on probation for the balance of that.
Mm-hmm. Was he on probation when this happened?
Well, of course.
So if he was serving the sentence he was sentenced to, this murder wouldn't have happened?
That's right.
Okay, we got that.
Or it wouldn't have happened when it happened.
Well,
you know,
exactly.
this guy.
If he was in prison, he couldn't have killed this girl.
That's
He was supposed to be in prison.
That's right. So he came back up here and got into the drug dealing business, and he was dating this girl off and on among any number of other girls, and he just, I'm guessing that somehow there was an argument. He shot her 3 times. One was right, a contact wound right to the back of her skull, and
So he never talked to the police, gave a reason. He didn't confess to this crime.
No.
Okay, and obviously he's got a right not to testify. So
sure.
He didn't testify.
He did testify.
He did.
Yeah, he came up with the most, I think absurd is a good word.
Well, what did he say happened?
Oh, some masked man.
Came to the house?
No, came around, because she was shot in her truck. She drove a pickup truck. He came around, got in the car with them, or in the cab of the truck with them, and pulled a gun. He was a masked man. Mm-hmm. And of course, it was funny to watch the jury, because the jury was watching this guy take the stand. It never occurred to us he would, mm-hmm. But he did. And as he told this preposterous story, and then the jury just kind of, because they take notes.
Yeah. And
all of a sudden, nobody was taking notes, just kind of jaw-dropping, looking at this guy giving this story. Mm-hmm. So he said they were driving along, struggling with the gun. He was struggling with the guy with the gun, and the gun went off a number of times. And he finally got in the car, and the guy took off running. He tried to catch him, but it didn't work, so he came back, and here's this dead girl sitting in the driver's seat of the truck. And he knew that the police wouldn't trust him, so he just sat on top of her and drove it downtown Frankfort to get rid of the vehicle. Did. And when he called a buddy who he was supposed to sell marijuana to, and while they were in the truck, he emptied the revolver, threw the shell casings out of the vehicle, and then went out in the country and threw the gun away, and then burned some clothes. So we had a pretty neat cast of characters.
It's interesting to me because it's not unusual for people not to testify. It's in my experience, you may not comment on this, but it's in my experience in the cases I've been involved in, when the evidence is overwhelming, when it's so obvious to me that someone's guilty, normally they won't testify. And the example that people can relate to is O.J. Simpson, Michael Jackson, this Casey Anthony girl. Those people, they're not going to get up on the stand, and the jury's not supposed to hold that against them. But why do you think that he made the decision to testify? I mean, you said you were surprised. What did he feel like he had to explain some things, or what?
Well, his attorney, who did about as well as he could with the situation, made some comment in the media that he said, as we built this case, it was a well-tried, well-prosecuted case, because we just put fact in place. And he said, as they built their case, it became obvious that he had to testify and explain himself if he could. And he did. But it was awful.
Yeah.
Well,
congratulations on the conviction. It won't close it for the family, and then it does, but at least it's the next chapter of moving on, is knowing that this guy's going to prison. What's he facing?
Well, they they sentenced him to 60 years, which means he's eligible for parole in 20.
Okay, now is this considered he murdered this girl? Is that what they're saying? Do they consider that a violent crime in Kentucky?
Yes,
okay.
but
I thought that you had to serve 85%
right.
of the 6 years.
Yeah.
Explain
that. Up to 20 years.
Okay.
See, you really can't serve more than 20 years. Before you're considered for parole.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, now, was the kidnapping charge that he was sentenced to in Tennessee, if he had kidnapped someone in Kentucky under our current law, would that kidnapping be considered a violent crime?
Yes.
Okay. So kidnapping is. Attempted murder's not. Kidnapping is.
Right.
Murder is. Assault, is that violent?
Second degree is not.
Okay. Second degree.
If I stab you with a knife,
that's not a violent crime.
That's not considered a violent crime.
We try to inform you and enlighten you a little bit, and maybe put things in place, but
you can't. When it comes to this, when it comes to Kentucky's wimpy ass sentencing laws. Excuse me.
Yeah, that's all right.
Then there's no explaining it.
Yeah.
It's no explaining it. We just left the office this morning, and you know what we were talking about?
What?
Something called deferred prosecution for possession of drug cases. Everybody's entitled to have deferred prosecution. It means that here, go back on the street, and we're trying to educate ourselves on what the law now
means.
Yeah.
Well, the police are going through the same thing.
Tune in to the following stations every Sunday to hear In Touch with Ray the DA and Officer Don. We hope you enjoyed the show. Stay tuned in for next week's episode.